Hey guys, this is Hell Hades. It's going to be another Raid Shadow Legends video. So this is going to be episode 2 of my Faction War series. Today we're going to kick off with Barbarians. Barbarians has been one of the tougher factions in the game. They have introduced different champions now to make it easier for us. Let's get into first, something I should have done probably in the first video, just a little bit around what roles do we need to cover off in a faction war team to make them easier to deal with. So these are the 6 things. There's probably more, but these are the 6 things that I look for when I'm building a team. Firstly, I'm looking for somebody that can do a decreased defense move, ideally on an AoE basis. If you can put defense down on the entire enemy team, you're going to hit them harder and you're going to get through those waves and that boss much quicker. Then I look for crowd control. Who is going to control the waves, make sure that I'm not taking too much damage, and make sure I can get through those waves with all of my team alive. Really important. Next thing I want is a healer of some sort or some way of healing. If I don't have a healer, then it's probably lifesteal gear. But ideally, you want a healer in that team that is just going to keep your team topped up. And if you can double that up with a healer that revives as well, even better, because you need all of your champions alive at the end of the round to be able to get you 3 stars. After that, obviously, you need some sort of damage. If that damage can also come with somebody that's doing some of those moves that we've already talked about, even better. But if not, then you need somebody dedicated for damage that you can keep alive. And then lastly, we want turn meter control. How do we make sure that the enemy are not having more turns, more chance to kill us, all of that type of good stuff? So basically, it's decreased defense, we hit harder. Crowd control, we take less damage. Healer and revives, we want to get those 3 stars. Do damage, we clear the mobs. And turn meter control, we take less damage. So that's a kind of very quick and dirty way that, formulation in my brain in terms of what I'm trying to build. If we go into the index for Barbarians, before I go into my team, Barbarians has now got some pretty good options for a number of those different things in the weaker champs and in the stronger champs. So how do we build, or where does decreased defense come from? There's a couple of champions down here that have got decreased defense on A1s, that's single target. Barbarians, we do not need to worry about that. We have got a War Maiden who's totally farmable. Great faction war champion. So she can lay decreased defense on an AoE basis. If she's booked, is 100% chance to land the big version of decreased defense. Fantastic ability, 3 turn cooldown. You just have to build her so she stays alive. I actually build mine in stun set because his AoE is the first thing she'll do. And if you can get stuns off at the same time, even better. If you don't have good stun sets, you can literally just build her as defensive as you can. Do not let her die. She's very weak on base defense, so you have to build that base defense up. But she is a great champion for this. She is the only one in the rare and uncommon category that can do decreased defense. If we get into the epics and the legendaries, we've got Valor now who can do an AoE decreased defense, but it is not as solid. So this one has got, if booked, 50% chance to land. So much weaker, but her base stats are incredibly better. So she actually is a good faction war champion if you're struggling to keep your War Maiden alive, but she won't do decreased defense across the board. If I'm honest, there's nobody else that fits the bill in this roster that's going to do that decreased defense for you. So you kind of need to put some time into a War Maiden to do it really well. So that's your decreased defense role. If we then look at crowd control, a couple that I would call out here. This new champion, Soulbond Boya, really cool. It's got a full turn meter depletion on array 3. That can be really good against some of the bosses. She's also got an AoE on array 1, which means you put her in stun set or day set. She will stun people up and do some nice crowd control as well. So crowd control plus turn meter manipulation is really cool. Not bad base stats either. So she is definitely somebody that if you've got, I would say use her. She's also got this A2, which ignores some defense. So very good champion, very solid for that. In terms of higher up then, crowd control and turn meter reduction. So we've got Valkyrie, obviously as a legendary, is going to put that counter attack up, which is a form of crowd control because you're basically going to be going back in on them. But if I'm honest, again, it's a race, it's a faction which doesn't have good champions for crowd control. Somebody that does it quite well here is Atur. Atur's got this provoke on his A1 and a provoke on his A2. Good form of crowd control. Pull the champions in on him. I think that is going to be about as good as it gets. You can go stun set here, and you can go stun set here. If you have got Shaman, then she does have an AoE ability, which again, and she's got a lot of other good utility. So she could do stun set on her A1 and then bring you some of the other cool stuff that you want, like I think she heals. I think she's got passive that heals. Yeah, heals all allies. So she would be very, very solid for Faction Wars. Otherwise, these epics are pretty bad. They're pretty bad. You'll see in my team, I actually opt for a couple of rares. I would even probably opt for Zephyrus Sniper with stun sets on her A1 over most of these epics. So it kind of shows how bad some of these epics are. If you get into legendaries, Ultan becomes immense because he's got a passive that can revive people. So if you lose a champion, he can pick them up, and he's tanky as you like. Great base stats. He's basically a beast for Faction Wars. Absolute beast. Great champion to get 3 stars. Valkyrie's insane. Everyone knows Valkyrie. She puts massive shields up. I would say if you've got either of these two, so Elder Skarg or Turvold, they're similar in a way, really. Pretty bad base defense on both of them. It's quite hard to keep them alive. If you can keep them alive, they'll do a lot of damage for you. So they can be damage dealers, but you have to build them in the right way to keep them alive, or get the right champions around them to keep them alive. So something I didn't mention on my last video, which I will mention here. If you, let me show you just by faction, couple of champs. Yeah, let me show you a couple of weaker champions. So Skytouch Shaman, she's level 25. I've got 0 gear on her. And if you are early game, and you're like, well, there's no point me even starting Faction Wars because I don't have many champions to use. Okay, so if we put somebody in level 1, this could be a level 40 champion with some base level gear. Okay, but watch this. Level 1, you can basically do this game with nothing. Okay, with nothing at all. Level 1's super easy, guys. So don't think to yourself, there's no point me starting it if I've barely started the game. If you've got a level 30 champion with gear on, it's probably the equivalent of what I've got here. If you've got a level 40 champion with some gear on, even if it's campaign level gear, you will clear. I don't actually want to end this because I'll lose a key. You will clear level 1 to level 4 pretty damn easy. If I show you another example, hopefully I've got one which can be quite easy. Let's do it by faction again, sorry. So here you go. Do I have a good example? Do I have a good example? Oh, I don't have any leveled. So if I was to take, yeah, I don't have any leveled. If I had a level 30 in gear, I would do level 1 pretty easy on his own. If I had a level 40 in gear from early level campaign, I would do up to level 4 very easy. Very easy. So try and do Faction Wars every single day. Okay? Every day. No matter what the faction, try and do it. Put your best champions out there. Earn some rewards. Some of these rewards are very cool, guys. And it is worth, even at the early game, getting this extra silver, these chickens, these shards. They're all going to help you out a lot. Okay. Okay. So let's get into talking about the bosses, which are pretty much, so I would say up to level 6, early game, very easy. Level 7 is the first hurdle, because it's the first boss. Level 13, it becomes generally the farming zone for most people that are mid-game. 14 becomes the next hurdle, and then from 14 up is tough, okay? Every level's tough, and you need to manual everything, yeah? Unless you've got a team that's really advanced, you should be manualing Faction Wars if you're trying to progress. If you're just trying to like farm glyphs, which you should do every day, fine. Get your auto teams running, absolutely fine. But I would suggest if you're trying to progress with a faction, manual it. Okay, let me show you some of these bosses. All right, let me show you stage 7 then. Stage 7, what I don't want to do is I don't want to use up a load of my cooldowns running through, because I'm going to clear this quite easily. My champions overpower this. So I'm going to keep my cooldowns up. You want to get to the boss with your cooldowns ready to go, guys. If you get to the boss and you are struggling on cooldowns, then you're probably going to fail. Yeah, that's... So with any faction war fight, you need to be planning your opponents, plan how you're going to get through it, so that when you get to the next stage, you've got as many of your big abilities off cooldown as possible. You see here, I'm kind of getting myself onto the main boss. All of my cooldowns are intact. Obviously, I am breezing through it because I've got way stronger champions than level 7. But I'll show you the harder fights, and I'll show you that I try and do the same thing. What does the boss do then? He's got an A1 that ignores defense. So even though I've got a Valkyrie here with 7k defense, doesn't matter. She will be not one shot, she'll probably be 2 shot by this boss. He's got an A2 that removes all debuffs on himself, places a true fear on one champion, and then stuns on the rest of your champions. So you have to be careful not to... you have to be careful to either be able to cleanse that or pretty much accept that he's just going to nuke you to death for a couple of turns. And then to make it even worse, he has got a passive that fills turn meter. So there's a lot of things he's got going in his favour here. What you need to try and do is have Evil Eye on your A1. So try and drop his turn meter if you can. Marked is brilliant here. So Marked, who I'm using right now, this champion, yeah, she has got a block debuffs on an increased defense on her A3. You throw that up here. He's about to get a turn. I mean, I could drop his turn meter. I'm not going to drop his turn meter. I want to show you him having a turn. So I'm just going to hit him and let him turn his fill his turn meter up. You see this? I hit him. He comes in at me. He tries to put all of those stuns and things on. He can't. He can't do it because I've protected myself. I then put my shield up. I guess I might just kill him with this because I hit so much harder than he can deal with. But the other thing you want to do... So look, I'm going to have to throw my shield up here. Otherwise, but I think I'm probably going to kill him. But the other thing you want to do is use people that can drop turn meter. So if I went in with my A1 here, it might just kill him, to be fair. It will, yeah. But if I went in with my A1, I actually didn't want to kill him. I didn't want to use up one of my tokens. Never mind. But the idea would have been to drop his turn meter so that you can get additional turns in. But the main thing is, Marked is probably the most important champion in the champion pool there, to put that block debuffs on, so you're not getting stunned, you're not getting feared, and therefore you can go again. And also, you want to be able to recoup your life. You're going to take big hits from that A1, and you want to be able to... what's the third thing I was going to say? And you want higher HP rather than high defense to beat that boss. Because he will hit through your defense like it wasn't there, but HP levels still are really important. So let's go on now to the second boss, stage 14. This is the second big test. I'll run it through to the boss and then I'll show you what he does. So even when I'm going through the waves here, I've just got myself to wave 2. I've used one cooldown here. I've used most people's cooldowns once. I'm trying to get to the boss with all my cooldowns intact. I know that I overpower this level, so I have to be even more careful here because I don't want to get to the boss and have used all of my main abilities. I'm going to try and see if I can keep most of them up. I need to keep most of them up, or at least get the ones that I've used back by the time I get into the main fight. So I could go AoE here. I kind of want to save this. It's on a 3-turn cooldown, so I'm actually just going to go A1. I hope that I don't mess myself up by doing too little damage. Because actually you can see here, even on level 14, we're starting to get to that point now where actually they're quite tanky. Decreased defense becomes really important even at this level. So that's why I say decreased defense is kind of number 1 on my list. It's so important even at this level because they will just come in and kind of take you out if you can't drop their defense levels. At the moment, we're not going to take too much damage here. Taking a bit, not too much. So try and drop them down one by one. Because of this reflect damage, it actually hurts us quite a lot. So I don't want to do any sort of crazy hits at this stage. I'm just biding my time, making sure my health pools are healthy enough that when I get through this stage, I'm going to pretty much top off. If you can get someone in a shield set in your team with high HP, then that's great as well, because when you come into the next stage, you'll be coming in with that big shield again, which definitely helps. But see this, I've kind of A1'd my way through it. You get this health regen coming in here, and let's talk through what this guy does then. So for the stage 14 Barbarian, we got here, attacks one enemy, places a poison on him for 3 turns, and decreases his turn meter. It's actually nowhere near as bad as the previous boss that we just fought. So we've got a bit of turn meter control coming in from him. We've got a poison. You can resist a turn meter control, so you could go high resist, and that would resist that. He's then got an A2, attacks all enemies, places true fear for 1 turn, and puts poison out there. Okay, also decreases turn meter of all enemies by 50%. That's a really big ability. Again, if you can put stuff like block debuffs up, so marked comes in really strong here again. If you can do things like cleanse, if you can have high resistance, then all of those things will help here. And then he's got this passive, places HP burn on for 1 turn on the attacker when hit. Okay, so everything about this boss is debuffing, yeah? Everything's debuffing. I didn't mean to do that. I was trying to show you what they are. So it looks like we've got a Reliquary Tender here who is a cleanser, and we've got a Warcaster who is going to do a block damage, yeah? So what I would suggest you do is you get your block debuffs up nice and early. If you can't drop this guy's turn meter, I can. I would suggest bring someone in that can. Soulbound is really good for that. So I'm actually going to save this ability, but normally you would do this nice and early. I'm going to go with the AoE drop accuracy. I'm going to go with the turn meter drop here on my Soulbound, so that the boss doesn't get a go for a long time. Look at that, perfect. I can throw up my shields and do some damage here, so we can counterattack if these guys do stuff. This guy is probably going to get his ability up nice and early, so he's kind of the first one I want to deal with. We're not going to get another turn. She's got a cleanse. There's no point me doing my drop defense right now, so I'm just going to go in, wail on Warcaster initially. Got a stun off with my stun set. How important is that? Massive. That's absolutely massive. Now we can start getting some speed going. He's going to go pretty soon. I only get block debuffs for 1 turn. I'm going to save that. I'm going to save that another go. I'm going to try and drop his defense here with her A1, which we got. We can now go in. I can ignore his defense with Soulbound, so really good ability here. I could also go AoE. I think I'd rather go AoE. Try and get some damage on these ads. Get these ads down as quick as I can. I'd rather kill the ads first and then come back for the boss once the ads are done. Just going to go in again on the Warcaster. Stunned him again. So good. So good. We've got drop turn meter here on High Katoon's A3. So we get a bit of turn meter control on everybody. Now I'm going to get, because he's got his block damage up, there's no point me going on the boss. I'm going to get block debuffs up now. Block debuffs up. Boss is going to go. I've got no stuns on me. I've got nothing on me that I'm scared about. That's the important phase, guys. If you can just get that to land at the right time with your champions, then you've just basically solved the problem. We get block, decreased defense across the board. We're going to kill the second ad as soon as we can. And then basically you're just going on the boss. Now, if you've got Evil Eye on your abilities, on your masteries, then you get a bit of turn meter drop here as well. I'm going to go with this one, which ignores defense. Just give him a nice big slap. Get my shields up with counterattack. So that when I take a hit, obviously Valk's insane, guys. So I overpower this level quite hard. But you see here that the mechanics are drop turn meter, block debuffs, and then try and get yourself, get these ads down as soon as you can, and then just work on the boss. So that is the second boss. I'm not on the third boss, but let me just show you where I'm up to. I'll show you my champs now. So I've had a pretty poor Barbarian team for a while. I've been working on it over the last probably couple of months. And then I pulled a Valk recently. So Valk is a game changer for my team. How do I enable Valk? I've got an Ultan which has got increased defense, which will help me do the shield for Valk. Ultan also revives champions for me. So these two together are insane. We got high Cocoon going fast. That's going to give me a speed buff. Notice I've got high defense on her. So HP, but defense, HP, maxed out defense here. I must have some good defense rolls across the board to get to where I've got to. Or am I just not that high? Maybe I'm not that high, really. High HP rather than high defense. Okay. So we've got 1, 2, 3 are going to be in the team. Soulbound is insane. She's going to come in. Marked is definitely possible to come in. And War Maiden is possible to come in. I do have 2 others that are kind of good to go. Valor is decent. And Tashada is kind of like a poor man's Ultan. So she's got this ability to revive champions as well. I don't think I'm going to need her anymore now that I've got my Valk. So I'm going to go 1, 2, probably 3. Speed's always good in any sort of form of the game. Probably 4 here. And then generally I'll come in with War Maiden in a stun set to crowd control and drop defense. So let's see if I can push on a few levels because I am way short of finishing this one. But I think now that I've got my Valk in, I'll be able to do it. So let me see what we're up against at the end. It's important to have team selection if you can. So I'm thinking here, do I need to block debuffs against these guys? Not really. We've got some stuns here. We do have decreased defense. But I think I'll be better off with this setup. The question really is, do I bring Soulbound or do I bring Marked? That's my options. Once I've got this Shaman up, she would definitely be a cool option as well. This guy's a good option as a 50. These champions, I've tried them all. They're all pretty bad. Kalia's bad. The sisters are pretty bad. She hits a bit hard, but she'll go down so fast. It's not even worth putting her in. So I kind of struggled my way through levels, up to level 15 really, without anyone but Ultan doing work. What do I want to do? I want to take out this guy that does this Shriek. He's really annoying, hard to deal with. My turn order's not perfect. I should really have War Maiden as my second fastest so that this decreased defense goes on as early as possible. I'm just going to try and drop his turn meter. I don't want him to have a turn at all, this guy. I'm going to drop turn meter across the board now with the A3. What you see, we're starting to get people a bit lower. So at this stage, he's no threat right now. At this stage, I'd start to want to just control my abilities, yeah? I do not want to start using all of my main abilities now. I need them back for the second phase, for the second level. He's nearly down. I'm still keeping an eye on this turn meter, but I've got plenty of people that are going to go before that. One of them's an AoE, so I'm not too fussed there. Let's go for this guy next. Drop his speed, that's good. I'm going to go AoE now to try and kill those 2. Got them both down, that's good. Now they're starting to get a turn, but at this stage we're not worried. We've got plenty of damage here, so I'm just doing my A1s, hoping not to kill them too quick. But we did, but we start to get our abilities back for second wave. See this? All of the abilities coming back. Increased defense here. I do not want Maneater to go because he will lengthen the amount of time that I need to stay alive for. So Maneater's my problem. He can put on that ability which makes everyone unkillable. You see that I've stunned him. As soon as I stun someone, my focus changes, right? Who's the next biggest threat in this team? We've got this Galcut who can do an AoE kind of bomb scenario. So I want to try and nuke him as quick as I can, or at least keep his turn meter down now, keep his speed down, give him a bit of an Ultan slap. Yeah, so he was my second target after Maneater. He's down. We can drop defense now across the board. And at this stage, we're pretty comfortable, yeah? Pretty comfortable. Everyone's either stunned or defense has dropped. So we're just going to take them out one by one. Try and get my abilities back now. That's my aim now. Get your abilities back for the next level. So we've got one turn here. That's perfect. He's stunned, so we're going to let him sort of wallow for a bit. And he's got decreased defense, which means I would have killed him there. I don't want to kill him because I want to get people's abilities back. I'm hoping for weak hits now. I'm hoping to not kill people. See this? So I can just get everyone as many turns back as possible before we get onto the next level. Onto the next level then. Everyone's pretty much got their full kit back. Increased speed, and it's a bit of a rinse and repeat. Who's my biggest threat here? Probably this Soulless guy, I think. This is just like a tank team. Maybe Tayrael, because he does AoE decreased defense, which puts me in a bit of threat. So actually, Tayrael's the one I'm going to focus on. I want to drop turn meter, I think, on Soulless, because he can stun me up quite badly, and I don't really want that. Let's get our counter-attack up. And at this stage, We're already looking pretty favourable. Drop turn meter with this ability on them. Anything I can do to keep their turn meter under control, stop them from having a turn. I can go A1 here and hit them all, or I can just try and ignore defense on someone. It's a shame I got a weak hit here. I would go here, but I'm going to go here because I don't want to use a weak hit. And here again, I don't want that weak hit to go off. They're starting to get some turns now. We do a counter attack, which is useful. We're going to get him going in a minute, which is going to get that shared damage out, which I don't really want before I've killed someone. Here we go. Decreased defense across the board. We're fighting against a team of tanks. This is going to make a massive difference, yeah? I'm going to try and drop turn meter here. Got decreased speed, didn't drop turn meter. We should take Tyrell out, hopefully, yeah. And at this stage, I've definitely won. Now I'm just making sure I don't lose anybody because I want to get those full 3 stars. I want to move on to the next stage rather than waste more of my tokens on this stage, yeah? Keep the speed rolling. I could definitely hit auto now and I've definitely won. But you see, everybody in my team is tanky. Everyone's got pretty high HP and we've got a ton of crowd control in this team. If something does go wrong, we've got Ultan that can revive us. So this is now a very solid overall faction war team that should take me right through to final stage. I was missing a kind of key component to do that, and I hadn't really geared or kind of concentrated on people. Hit auto here, nothing can happen. So that is the bones of my faction war team. Let me know what you think of these guides, guys. Is it something you want? Do you want to see more of these, or am I wasting my time here? I've been Hell Hades. This has been the Barbarian Guide. I'll catch you all soon.